The Headrush Gigboard. I'm loving it and I'm disappointed in it. Let's check it out. So as you may know, I am on the hunt for an amp modeling unit that I can incorporate and integrate in with my pedal board of outboard effects. So I've tried the Line 6 HX Stomp, and today I'd like to look at the Headrush Gigboard. I bought this from a major music retailer with a really good 45-day return policy, and I'm checking it out to see if it's going to work for me. On this video, I'll do a quick overview of the features, we'll get into some sounds, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. You can think of the Gigboard as a chopped down or cut down version of the Headrush pedal board. It's got a lot of the same goodies, but in a smaller package. It's got all the great amp models, effects. It's got a full array of inputs and outputs. So guitar input, obviously, stereo outputs, MIDI in and through a USB port. You can use this thing actually as an audio interface if you wish into your computer, so pretty cool there. And it's got an effects loop, which I'll talk about a little bit later. One of the great things about the Gigboard is that it also has a 7-inch touch screen. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. Need to give you a little bit of backstory though, and that is I'm a longtime avid 11-rack user. It's probably featured on 90% of the videos on this channel. I love that unit. So I have to say I am predisposed to liking the Headrush Gigboard, which is descended from the 11-rack. So please, please, please take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's only fair, right? How do you set up a patch with the Gigboard? So here is a patch that I've got queued up for you. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, yeah, kind of a nice patch. It's a clean sound with just a little bit of crispiness in it. And we've got some stereo chorus going on, some stereo delay going on, and also some reverb. So how do we do this thing? Well, if you look at the 7-inch touchscreen, you will see various blocks, and this is where you can add in effects and amp models into your chain. And one of the great things is, unlike any other amp modeler that I personally have used, is that these are touch sensitive. So if I want to add an effect, let's say I want to go ahead and add an effect here, I can simply touch the block and begin to look through my effects. So maybe, for example, I might want to add an octave device. So it's just that easy. If I double tap the block, then I can go into all the parameters for that particular effect. So here's my sound now with the octave effect. Pretty cool. So that's kind of the way it is with all of the effects. If you want to get rid of an effect, check this out. You just drag it down to the bottom, the little red bar comes up. Do you want to delete? And you say yes. So this is really cool. This pedal does not require any software. Unlike Line 6, Boss, you know, the list kind of goes on, right? Where everybody wants to get in now to computer editing software, which is great. But if you're at a gig and you don't have a computer, you can really modify your patches very easily with this device. So what do I have going on with this patch? First up is a compressor. And it's the gray compressor, and it's, you know, one of those usual little squishy pedal compressor types. Right, so not too bad there. We've also got a graphic EQ going on. And this actually is something I've learned from the 11-rack, is using a graphic EQ at a certain point in the signal chain can really help you dial in the exact tone you're looking for. So that's pretty cool. We've also got multi-chorus, and this allows us to do a stereo chorus. Let me go ahead and turn off the delay and the reverb. You can do that by just touching, and here's what the chorus sounds like. Turn that off. All right, so cool there. Let's talk about amp models. We'll check out the delay and the reverb in a minute, but let's talk about amp models. I've got a J45, so Marshall amp type dialed up, but it's nice and clean, isn't it? Which is really nice. But if I were to crank the volume, I could get a lot of grit, as you would expect, out of this Marshall cab. We'll look at a dirty preset here in a couple minutes. So anyhow, really nice. One of the things I do like about the Gigboard, again, I'm totally biased here, is the chime you can get out of some of the amp models. I've noticed on some of the amp modelers, Line 6, I think in particular, well, no, I think Boss actually, the GT1000, it's really hard to get this high-end bright chime out of the amp models. You really have to work with it, whereas the Gigboard has the chime there just from the get-go. Just really, really nice. As you would expect, there's a full array of amp cabinets. I happen to have the 2x12 silver cone dialed up, which also tends to be a little bit more chimey. Yeah, hear that compressor? That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so that's the amp and the amp model. Let's check out the delay. This is the dynamic delay. You can set it up as a ducking delay or a more standard stereo delay. Sounds really nice. Yeah, and you can do all the patterns that, all that kind of stuff. Last in my effect chain is the 11 reverb, and I've got it set to medium theater. And of course, that can get a lot bigger if I wish. So yeah, pretty nice. I should say the Gigboard doesn't have any crazy reverbs. It's pretty standard room, hall, church, cathedral, those types of reverbs. So that is a limitation of this unit. Actually, I would say it's a limitation. Whoa! I would say it's a limitation for all of the effects. It's got the standard effects, but not a lot of more exotic types of effects. So for example, the Line 6 HX Stomp has the particle reverb that I think all of the Helix units have. That's pretty cool. This unit is much, much simpler. So if you want more exotic effects, you'll need to make use of the effects loop to get to them. One of the other things that I'm sure you've noticed is that this unit does stereo really well. And both the reverbs and the stereo delays and the stereo choruses all have a really, really nice wide stereo image that doesn't get out of control. It's in control, but it's just really nice and wide and thick. So really, really good sounds. One of the other great things about the Gigboard is the looper. I'm really impressed with this built-in looper. For one thing, you can record up to 20 minutes, which is pretty awesome. It also has loop decay. It's called feedback, but it's actually a loop decay function where you can control your loop layers kind of decaying and slowly fading out. You can do half speed, double speed. You can do reverse loops. A lot of capabilities here with this particular looper. The controls are really easy to use. It just kind of takes over the three actually takes over all of the 4 foot switches, so you've got full, easy access to the looper capability. And there's also a built-in tuner. That's pretty standard for all of these amp modelers. All right, let's check out some distorted tones real quickly. I've got a preset that I created, and it's based around a Tweed Princeton Fender amp model. Yeah, really nice, kind of crispy, crunchy tone. I've got that running into a 1x12 tweed speaker cabinet. So if you've ever played an old Fender amp, this is definitely, and kind of cranked it, this is definitely, along those lines. But that's not all. I added in a booster pedal. Let me go ahead and engage that to just push the front end and add more gain into the signal. One of the cool things is this tone will clean up. As you roll off the volume. Now, I mentioned the graphic EQ earlier. I did add that in to control the tone a little bit. Let's go ahead and add that in. And I'm using that just to control the low end and the mids a little bit. Yeah, really nice. All right, so let's move on to chorus. And here's what that sounds like. All right, and I've got the chorus block mapped to one of the foot switches, the one here on the left, and so I can turn it off with the foot switch. So really nice. Let's see. I'm also going to turn on the dynamic delay. Here's what that sounds like. As you can see, I've got the delay set fairly long to kind of give a Frippertronics-like effect. Now, I should say that none of the delays do 4, 5, 6, 7, 10-second kinds of delays. If you really want to get into serious Frippertronics, you'll need to patch in a delay pedal with a longer delay time into the effects loop. Or you could use the Gigboard looper and set the loops to decay and create Frippertronic effects with that. So not too bad. Let me go ahead and turn on the reverb. Here's what the reverb, actually everything together sounds like. Yeah, I'm really digging that. It's a great sound, at least for me. It really matches my predisposed preference for the Avid 11-rack tones. This is definitely it, and actually, I think this sounds better than the 11-rack, and it should. It's newer technology. All right, I've told you about my love affair with the Gigboard, but I need to tell you about my disappointment with the Gigboard, and it's actually a pretty massive disappointment for me. The effects loop. The effects loop is a mono effects loop. So some of you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? I don't care about that. That's fine. And actually, if you don't care about stereo in the effects loop, it's totally cool. It works great. You can assign the effects loop wherever you want in the overall effects chain, all with your finger on the touchscreen. So really nice. But if you're like me and you use stereo reverbs, delays, and modulation pedals, and you want to incorporate them into the Gigboard, you're going to be disappointed with the effects loop because it does not do stereo. Now, I am doubly disappointed because the major retailer that I purchased this from in their product description specifically said that this unit has a stereo effects loop. Oh, man. Now, I went over to Headrush's website, and it specifically says mono effects loop. So no bad on Headrush at all. They're saying it like it is, but the major retailer was not. It was obviously a mistake in the copy. So ultimately, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep this pedal as much as I love the tone. But wait, as promised, there's more. As I mentioned in my previous video, on the next video after this one, I'll be doing a shootout, sort of a shootout, between this Headrush Gigboard and the Line 6 HX Stomp. So what I'm going to do is set up a clean and dirty patch on both pedals. I'm going to try to make them as close as I can to being the same, and then compare them and kind of discuss the differences between the two pedals. I hope that you will subscribe to Chords of Orion. Click that bell notification so you don't miss the shootout. And as always, I'll see all of you on that next video.